Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Inside the Foul podcast brings you the opinions and perspectives of a couple best friends. And if you don't like that call, we've got 3 words for you. You're out of here! We are your hosts, bringing you baseball around the world, and some people wear more than one uniform. Chris and Ethan!
I don't think my team did many trades, so I don't have to worry about new uniforms.
But you know what? Most players spend every waking moment chasing the big leagues. But our guest had 2 dreams to serve. One on the baseball field and one serving his country. Mitch Harris wasn't just a standout at the United States Naval Academy, where he excelled as both a pitcher and a hitter. He was drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals in 2008, knowing full well that baseball would have to wait. Instead of climbing through the through the minor leagues, he spent the next 5 years fulfilling his commitment as a commissioned officer in the United States Navy. Think about that for a second. While other prospects were chasing promotions, Mitch was serving something bigger than himself. And when that commitment ended, he had to do what many believed was impossible: return to professional baseball after 5-year absence and compete against players who had never stopped playing. Most stories end there. His didn't. In 2015, Mitch Harris became the first graduate of the United States Naval Academy to appear in a Major League Baseball game since 1921, nearly a century after the last midshipman reached the big leagues. It wasn't just a debut. It was the payoff for years of sacrifice, patience, and refusing to let go of a dream that never let go of him. But Mitch's story isn't just about baseball. It's about delayed gratification in a world that demands instant success. It's about discipline, resilience, leadership, and believing that your timeline doesn't have to look like everyone else's. It's about wearing 2 uniforms with pride and proving that service and sport don't have to be separate paths. Today we're talking about his incredible journey from Annapolis to Busch Stadium, what it was like balancing military service with professional baseball, and lessons he learned in taking the road less traveled, and why his story continues to inspire athletes, veterans, and anyone chasing a dream that feels just out of reach. Ladies and gentlemen, we're honored to welcome former St. Louis Cardinals pitcher, Naval Academy graduate, U.S. Navy officer, and one of the most unique baseball stories that we've ever seen. Mitch Harris, thank you for joining us on Inside the Foul, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Good to be here.
So we were doing a lot of our research. We found it really cool that you were one of the first out of the Naval Academy to make it in the major leagues. You wore 2 uniforms that people dream about wearing. Some people, United States Navy, some people, major leagues, you got to wear this, St. Louis Cardinals. When you look back, what emotions come to mind with that?
Oh man, a lot. I think I can honestly say I never thought it would be either one of those uniforms that I'd be putting on. Growing up in the North Carolina area in high school, I got recruited to play at the academy, and quite frankly, I didn't really know what it was. I knew of it, I'd heard of it, but I didn't really know what it meant to go to the Naval Academy. And then obviously getting there, it was an honor to go, and then to take the scenic route, so to say, to the big leagues was also amazing. And so, yeah, it was such an honor to be able to do both. And man, it's something that I still look back and kind of pinch myself that I was able to achieve both.
So take us back to being a kid. What did baseball mean to you at a young age before it became something you were actually, good at?
Yeah, so I grew up prior to high school. I grew up just outside of the Atlanta area, and big Braves fan, and so I would be out in the yard, and those '90s teams, man, I could name the whole lineup front and back, and toss up a tennis ball, hit it with the giveaway bats, or the little bitty bats that you get at the ballpark. I'd have a full game out there by myself, throwing against we had a brick kind of retaining wall that I would pitch as John Smoltz. Man, I just lived baseball as a kid, and growing up being able to watch the Braves win it, and it was special, man. Just back in the day of winning all the pennant races you could, but coming up short seemed like every year in the World Series. But it was awesome to just grow up in an area where baseball was so big, and I just loved it, man. I lived and played baseball every day.
Would you say that, as a kid that you were dreaming about playing professional baseball?
I mean, what kid doesn't? You know what I mean? It's that nonstop thought of like, oh, as a kid, you don't know any better. You're like, oh, well, I'll just when I grow up, that's what I'll do. Yeah, I just think as a kid, you see it on TV and you watch these guys have just an absolute blast playing the game that you love, and yeah, as a kid, that's all I thought about was, man, I can't wait till I get to do that.
So, where did the Naval Academy come into play? I mean, not just why school, but that lifestyle for you.
Yeah, so my senior year, I went to high school up in North Carolina. My senior year, the head baseball coach was the assistant football coach at our high school, and we had a really good football team. Matter of fact, we won state my senior year. I did not play football, played baseball, but while I was at the baseball field, I was throwing a bullpen, and the defensive coordinator for the Navy football team came to the baseball field to pick up the coach, who was the assistant football coach as well. And they were going to walk over to the football practice. And so he could recruit. Well, he saw me throwing a bullpen and said, "Hey, what's this kid's deal?" And, the coach said, he's good grades, good all around athlete, not going to stand out in any particular area, but can play anywhere, just a good athlete. And he's like, "Well, that's what the academy needs. Would he have any interest?" Well, a couple of weeks later, we went on a visit to the Naval Academy, and the rest is history. And so it was special, man. I got to go and as a two-way guy, corners, first and third, and then pitch. And man, it was great.
How do you feel your game developed over that time?
Well, I lost 20 pounds my freshman year. So there's that. Most people put on, I think, 20 pounds their freshman year. For me, it was the opposite. And so, I was a hitter. I was not more known for my hitting in high school than it was pitching. So when I got there my freshman year, I only threw about 15 innings in total my freshman year. Played mainly third and first and hit. And then as I gained all that weight back, going into my sophomore year and started to really develop, pitching kind of came on fast. And so that's when we kind of decided, all right, let's give this a whirl. And sure enough, we threw my brand new coach came in my sophomore year, revamped the whole program. Basically told me I was going to be a starting pitcher, and the rest kind of took over. Went 10-2 with a sub-2 ERA, I think, my sophomore year, and I think that's when we were like, oh, all right, I think I'm a pitcher.
Did you still get to take hacks after that, or did they make you a
Oh
PO?
yeah, no, I don't do this PO crap. So I definitely still swung for myself when I was pitching. And then we did 7-9, 7-9. So we play a 7 inning game, take a break, play a 9 inning game on Saturday and Sunday. And so I would pitch the first 7 inning game, usually DH the 9 inning game, and then the following day play first or third or right. When I wasn't pitching.
That's a hell of a way to get reps.
Oh yeah, always playing, baby. I had to be on the field, man. I didn't like not participating.
So did you think about, at that time, the commitment to the Naval Academy and everything that was going to, delay your baseball career in any way?
I mean, you knew that you had service time, and so I wasn't thinking anything of it, man. I just, and you also kind of in your mind, it's like, all right, well, it'd be awesome to be able to play in the big leagues, but I mean, what are the chances? It's like, 1 in a million, less than 1% ever get to do it. So if that works out, I'm sure there'll be a way to make it work. But if not, I'll get to travel the world and, have all the leadership skills I'd ever want and need, and get to experience some really cool stuff. And so I knew for me it was a win-win. And that's kind of how I went about it. It's like, hey, whichever path, presents itself, I'm going to take it and charge head on.
Okay. See, looking back, like, what part of your game are you most proud of?
I think it's probably not even part of the game. I mean, it is, but I think from the whole journey standpoint, it was just the mentality of believing in myself. Quite frankly, I mean, I think a lot of people, as we got further along at the academy, just thought, "Hey, that's a great dream to play in the big leagues," but no one's ever done that. That's not really possible. And so, to me, you say that to me, that's a challenge. And so that's kind of what was my mindset. It's like, oh, okay, so it's not cute. I'm actually serious. I want to play in the big leagues, and I'm gonna figure out how to do it. And so we talked to a bunch of people, including the Navy and the Jags, and everybody got involved to try to figure out what's the right way to go about this. And so, um, unfortunately, we had to wait 5 years, but 4 years, 8 months, and 8 days. But who was counting? And then we did our best when we had the opportunity. And so, got on the ship, did what I was supposed to do on the ship, threw on the flight deck with a guy that was a cook on board who was from the Dominican, so I knew he played baseball, and so stayed in shape, and mentally, I think that was the biggest thing, is just telling myself that, hey, at some point you're going to have the opportunity. Just be ready when you have that opportunity present itself.
So I have to know, what's it like playing catch on a flight deck?
It's not easy. It's a little bit more challenging than the ground that doesn't move. But no, it was awesome. The scenery's, I mean, it's hard to beat, and but it's hot. So we were doing this in the middle of the Persian Gulf. It's about 105 degrees, and I think I was standing on a frying pan. At least that's what it felt like. But it was great. We had a blast. It was, again, more mentally than anything else, because you can't keep your arm in shape, not in baseball shape. That's what I did. I just said, hey, if I can keep my body in shape, when I have the opportunity, all I've got to worry about is getting my arm back into shape, and that's kind of how I went about it.
Well, so take us to draft day. What did that look like for you?
That was a frustrating day. I'll be honest with you. I was at the academy. Every summer, I took extra classes during the summer to help kind of alleviate the load during the spring. And I think coming into my junior year, there had been talks of, hey, you could go in the higher rounds, top 5 rounds. If he was at another school, maybe the top 3 rounds. We don't know. And then trying to figure out what that looks like, because I was drafted my junior year first by the Braves. We knew my junior year was going to be one of those where we told them, hey, look, unless you offer me something I can't say no to, I'm going to go back and graduate, because at the academy, once you leave, you got to start over. And so I wanted to stay and graduate, get my commission from the Naval Academy. And so going into my senior year, we knew, like, I got no leverage, but all the teams have said they've kind of got this projection of potential, higher round, and I knew there was no leverage, so I didn't know where that would fall. And to be honest, once we kind of started hitting that 9th, 10th round, I was getting frustrated, and so finally my dad just said, "Hey, let's leave, let's go and go play some golf or something." And so we went out to the golf course, take my mind off of it, and sure enough, we got a phone call not too much longer that the Cardinals had taken me in the 13th round, and obviously I was thrilled, but I think that was part of that whole chip on the shoulder. I want to prove everybody that you made a mistake, and that's just how I've always been built, man. You give me a challenge, I want to figure out how I'm going to achieve it.
So I have to go back to your junior year. Knowing you're a lifelong Braves fan, how hard was it to say no to the Braves?
Very. I was like, could you guys just like hold on, like put in the contract that I'll just show up next year, because that was a dream come true. Like, that was my hometown team. That's who I wanted to play for. And but that being said, I mean, what a better, can you get a better organization than the St. Louis Cardinals? I
I
mean,
was going to say, you
what a
kind of got
historic
this.
team. I mean, it's just. It was a win-win for me, man. I mean, people ask all the time when they play each other, who you pull for, and I just say whoever wins is who I was pulling for, because it doesn't matter. I look up to both of those clubs immensely.
So you talk about that organization being as great as it was, and for them to be willing to work with you and wait. What did those conversations look like?
Yeah, I mean, no one knew. No one had any idea what it was going to look like. We didn't know how long the wait was. We didn't know if that was a year, 2 years, 5 years. Nobody knew. And so the fact they even drafted me in the 13th round was amazing, because we knew at minimum it was going to be more likely than not 2 years before I could even show up. Well, 2 years came and went, and I still couldn't show up. This was 2000. 9, 10, and we were right in the middle of a war. And so we just told the Cardinals, like, look, we're going to show up whenever I can. And they honored that. They put me on their military reserve list, and fortunately enough, again, 5 years in, I called them and says, I don't know if you remember me, but you drafted me 5 years ago. If you don't mind, I'd like to show up to spring training. They're like, come on. And I got there and was grunting, throwing 83, and it was pretty embarrassing. But we figured it out, and was fortunate to make it to the big leagues just a few years thereafter.
Man, that's phenomenal. What does that feel like for you as a player to have a team that's backing you and just said, "Yeah, come on, let's go."
I mean, that's the thing about it. It was nice to have that. All right, somebody believes in me. Somebody's going to give me the shot, and that's all I said. Hey, give me a shot. Let me earn it. And if I can't earn it, then it is what it is. But let me try to earn this. And the Cardinals gave me that opportunity.
That's phenomenal. What kept that fire alive when your path looked so different than everyone else's?
I think again, it was just a chip on my shoulder of like, man, I've worked at this my entire life. I've had coaches put a lot of time and effort into me. My family's made a lot of sacrifice and commitment to allow me to play this game. For me personally, man, it was just like, man, I've done all this. People have said this is a cute idea, that it's not going to happen. I want to prove everybody wrong. I want to prove the people who doubted me wrong. I want to make my family proud. I want to show people that no matter what obstacle you're facing or what challenge it is, whatever you set your mind and goal to, you can achieve. And so that's just kind of how I've always been wired, man. It's always, I had someone tell me, and I love this. They kind of described it as, it's the difference in impossible and improbable. And they always said, Mitch, it's funny how you don't view anything as impossible. You only view it as improbable. And I was like, you've nailed it. I said, because you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to tell you, well, the likelihood of me doing it is small, but that just means it's improbable. It's not impossible. And so I write about that in the book, and it's just something special that I just take pride in. And I don't like getting told no, and I don't like getting told that you can't do something.
Well, where does that mindset come from? Like where did that like originate from for you? Because that's a hell of a mindset.
I mean, I've always been competitive. I had two younger sisters, so my dad and I were super close, and I think he instilled a lot of that in me. When we played basketball in the driveway or played baseball in the yard, he did not let me win. It was always, hey, you want to win, you better work at it. I'm not going to let you just make this layup because you're 5 and I'm 40. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. You're 6'5". Like, I'm 4 foot. Let me make something. And he's like, nah, man, you got to earn it. And so, like, I think that started out of like, all right, that's fine. I'll figure it out, kick you in the shin or something and make a basket. But, it's that mentality from early on that like, all right, I want to win at all costs. I want to figure out how to achieve whatever it is I can set out to do. And, I want to figure out how to make people around me better and push people to achieve whatever it is they're trying to achieve.
So I'm curious, what lessons correlated between your time in the Navy and baseball? Like, I'm sure there's some sort of, you know, how do I put this, discipline between the two.
Yeah, there's a lot of discipline between both of them in terms of just schedule and getting into a routine. There's a lot of attention to detail. There's a lot of similarities, quite frankly. And so I think it's interesting how, just taking the day-to-day things from the Navy, and that, hey, you've got a job to do every day. You wake up, you've got something to do, you've got a duty that's there in front of you. You've got a mission at hand. Same thing with baseball, man. Every day you've got a mission at hand. Go win the game. Figure it out. And then from attention to detail standpoint, it's one of those things where everybody on the ship has their job. Whatever you're supposed to do, you do your job. Everybody does their job as a collective unit. You're going to achieve the mission. Same thing on the baseball field, man. You've got 9 guys out there. Everybody does their job. You got a really good shot at winning the game. And so that was kind of how I viewed it, man. Is every day you get to the field, and my job was to make sure that I try to get to Trevor Rosenthal, who made a lot more money than me. And so get it to him. He threw 100 miles an hour. So if I get it to him, great. We have a good shot at winning. Try not to let anybody score. That's also a good way to win. It's like that. You just got to do what your job is, and both of those were things that were very similar from a military and baseball standpoint.
So, you know, a casual fan would assume, your baseball career simply picked back up. In reality, it kind of like started over. What was
Yes.
that adjustment like?
Embarrassing. I came in at probably like 12% body fat coming out of the Navy, and I was just ripped, probably best shape of my life, because I told myself, like I mentioned earlier, like I just wanted to keep my body in shape so that when I got the opportunity, I just had to worry about my arm. Well, I did that, but my arm was nowhere near baseball shape, and so this 27-year-old shows up at spring training grunting, throwing 82, 83, and people are like, what is he doing here? What's this? You know, this special needs 27-year-old showing up at camp. Why is he here? It's just like you can't describe the embarrassment, because there's 17, 18, 19-year-olds who just came out of high school who are throwing 97, and then they're like, all right, Mitch, your turn to throw a bullpen. I'm like, oh, okay. um Nobody look for a minute, okay? Because it was bad. I mean, it was just trying to figure out, like, how do you just get back in the swing of the game? And so we did all kinds of crazy stuff, man. We went to yoga. We long tossed while they're throwing, while they're hitting BP. I would be in the middle of the bullpen, which is in the middle of the fields, and I would throw a pitch to the catcher, turn and crow hop and try to throw it over the batter's eye, while they're taking BP. We did everything we could, man, to try to figure it out. And fortunately enough, it did. Muscle memory finally clicked in within a couple of years, but it took a minute.
Would you say that challenged your confidence during that time? And like, how did that feel different redeveloping, your arm?
Yeah, I mean, confidence was hurt initially, to try to figure out, like, dude, you're gonna have to really work to figure this out. But I think, again, just that drive of like, all right, I can get back to what I was, and just day in and day out trying to figure out how do I get back to where I was, 5 years ago at this point. And it's just each day trying to get a little bit better each day, and just stacking on stock, on top of each other day after day. And finally, eventually, within a couple of years, I starting to feel like, okay, things are connecting now. Things are starting to feel normal again, and then from there, it just, man, just took off.
Were your teammates shocked by your story when they finally heard it?
Yeah, I think some of them were very, like, initially were kind of like, oh, that's cool, best of luck, man. I think it was kind of same. You kind of had a mix. I think you had some guys who were like, wait, you did what? Like, how are you even here? One, you haven't played in 5 years. And I think others were kind of like, what is that going to look like? How are you going to make it back? I can't fathom not playing for 5 years. And then others were, I think, had the mindset of like, dude, that's awesome. Like, I hope you do it. That's so cool. Like, I want to be there when you do it as a teammate, to be like, dude, I saw this guy grinding, and the guy made it. So yeah, it was really cool. I think there was a mixed bag of what people thought, and I don't know. I kind of would love to pick their brains at this point now to hear what they would say.
Do you think your military experience helped you have the mindset to keep the grind going through spring
Yeah,
training?
yeah, for sure. Absolutely, because there's nothing there's no more grind than having the 2 to 7 watch in the middle of the Persian Gulf when it's 105 degrees and it's pitch black. You can't even see your hand in front of your face. And you, oh, by the way, you are driving this ship. Don't wreck it. And you're like, oh, this is a couple $1 billion ship. No big deal. And so like, it's a grind when you've worked all day and then you sleep for 3 hours, get up and you're on watch for 5 hours, and then you got to go work a full day again. But you realize again, like that's my job. That's what I'm here to do. Same thing. You get into spring training, you get into the season. It's like, man, this is a grind. My arm hurts, my leg hurts, you insert whatever you want to there, man. It's just like, man, I'm hurting, but it's a grind. I know tomorrow I got to be ready to go, and I got to figure out how to make it work. So that mentality definitely helped for sure.
So when did you finally feel like your arm was back to game ready?
I can specifically remember a bullpen in Double-A. I was throwing with Randy Neiman, who was our pitching coach at the time, and it was just one of those bullpens where the catcher didn't move. I didn't say anything. Pitching coach didn't say anything. I mean, everything was sharp. I mean, hitting the catcher's mitt wherever he put it. We got done, and I think the catcher was just like, and just kind of gave me a fist bump, like, all right, that was pretty good. And we walked straight into the manager's office, and Randy was like, "Hey, we got to get Mitch in the game tonight. Like something clicked. We got to get him going." And sure enough, from that day forward, man, things just progressed really quickly. Velocity had come back. The sharpness of my cutter came back. Confidence was coming back. So that was definitely when I felt like, all right, we got a shot here.
So when did you get the call up? What did that look like for you?
We were in Round Rock, Texas, and I was in our hotel room with Marco Gonzalez, who was our first round draft pick, several years prior. And the phone rings, and the manager says, "Hey, Mitch, you got a few minutes to come to the lobby?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I was thinking like, "Hey, he was going to tell me, hey, get to the field early, get a workout in, you're down today," something like that. Immediately, Marco's like, "Dude, you're going to the big leagues." And I was like, "Dude, nobody's hurt. No one's having a bad, like, there's nothing going on." Because, when you're minor league, especially in Double-A, Triple-A, you pay attention to the big leagues. Like, who's on the IL, who's taking, baby. You know all the stuff because you knew, like, hey, if something happens, either I'm going up or a teammate's going up, someone's going to fill this void. Well, we hadn't heard anything. Well, I get off the elevator, and there's the manager and the pitching coach, both kind of with a smirk grin on their face. And I was like, what? And they're like, "Hey, you remember the times and you told me you were thinking about, like, would you ever play baseball again?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Remember the times you talked about throwing on the flight deck and wondering if this was even worth it?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, it is. You're going to the big leagues tonight." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, pack your bags. You're flying to DC right now." And I was like, "Oh my God." We hugged, and no one cried, of course. Nobody shed a tear. And so I called my parents and my fiance at the time, and who's now my wife, and said, "Hey, everybody get to DC. I'm going to the big leagues." And so that was special. I'll never forget it. I had some classmates of mine who were there in DC who were still in the Navy. My first commanding officer of my first ship was at the game. It was just really special. Didn't get to go into that game those first 3 days that we were there, but flew to Milwaukee, and I knew getting on the flight. I was like, well, this is it. That was cool. Got to see the field. Didn't get to pitch, but this was cool to see it. I just knew I was getting sent down, and fortunately enough, an infielder got sent down on the flight to Milwaukee, and so I got to stay. And then the rest is history. Made my debut in Milwaukee there just a couple days later.
Man, what was that? What was that debut like? What kind of emotions? Because you finally made it. Got drafted 5 years prior. All of it finally paid off for you. What was that finally like to finally get to experience that?
I mean, it's hard to put into words. I mean, running out onto the field and seeing however many thousands of people were there, and realizing, like, man, this is like this is what I dreamed of. Like, this is happening. Like, it's happening right now. And then you get on the mound and realize, like, oh, like, don't mess this up. And it was bittersweet because, my debut was when Adam Wainwright tore his Achilles. And so, man, that was like, man, and our guy is down, our horse, like he's we may have just lost him for at least the season, maybe parts of the next season. So we were just, it was a mixed bag of emotions, man, because I was super excited, obviously, but man, I was just like, let's win this game and get out of here and figure out, what the status of Wayno is and go from there. But yeah, it's a day I'll never forget, and special that I got to share not only that moment with Wayno, but really just be on the same field with some potential Hall of Famers. I mean, well, Yachty's going to be a first ballot, and if he's not, I'm making a phone call to somebody.
I'm gonna be a little upset myself. But you struck out the first batter you faced in the major leagues. Could you have imagined a better start?
I just figure that's what you probably should do. I mean, when you get to the big leagues, you should strike out the first guy you see, and then go from there. See what happens. No, it was special, man. It was. I mean, I think I blacked out. I don't remember what happened. But it was cool, man. I was throwing to Tony Cruz was catching that day, and it was special. Adam Lynn was the first guy I faced, and fortunately got to throw him a cutter underneath his hands to get the strikeout.
So you talk about some of the legends and some of the Hall of Famers that you've played with and guys with outstanding resumes. Are there any of those relationships that you feel kind of made you better during your tenure?
Oh, a bunch of them. I mean, gosh, throwing to Yachty makes you 100 times better. I mean, let's be honest. If I was throwing to hardly any other catcher, I don't know how long I would have been in the big leagues, if at all. I mean, that dude is he's one of a kind. I mean, I saw him one time mid-pitch, moving infielder. Mid-pitch, moving infielder, and then the ball was hit right at him. I mean, it's just, he did some crazy stuff. But, I mean, his mind for baseball is just special. And so what a special thing to be able to throw to him. And I mean, Tony Cruz was amazing as well. So, and then, having a guy like Wayno on your team, having a guy like Matt Holliday, John Jay. I mean, Mike Matheny is your manager. I mean, it was a great clubhouse. Just not only was it a great team. I mean, we won 100 games that year,
Yeah.
and but it was just even better people.
So Busch Stadium in and of itself has a lot of history there. Did you ever, how do I put this? That experience, did you ever take that for granted where you were playing?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think obviously you take it for granted when you get there and it's every day. But there's always times. I mean, it was probably at minimum every other day that I kind of just looked around like, is this real? Like, I'm playing on this field. I'm allowed to be out here on the field right now. It was just special. I mean, again, with all the history in the Cardinals organization, and I mean, and you see them all the time. I mean, in spring training one year, Mike Matheny was like, "Hey, Gibby wants to speak to you, or he wants to talk baseball." And I'm like, "By Gibby, do you mean Bob Gibson? Like the Bob Gibson?" And I am not calling him Gibby. And I don't know that he wants to talk to me. He doesn't know my name. And he's like, "Just trust me, Mitch. Just go down there and talk baseball." And I was like, "Okay." So I go down there and say, "Hey, Mr. Gibson, Bob, Mr. Gibson." He's like, "Hey, Mitch." And I was like, how do you know my name?" And, we sat there. I wish I knew what he said. I think the whole time I was just staring with my mouth open, like, he is talking to me. And we talked baseball for probably 3 innings. And it was just special, man. Like, seeing guys like that. And, I mean, I could just go on a full list of people who just would come through the clubhouse during spring training and there in Busch Stadium. And, it's still to this day, we do fantasy camps. And every time I see Ozzy and say hello, I still have to be like, this is so weird that he calls me by my first name. Like, it's the wizard. It's Ozzy. It's the best shortstop to ever play the game. It's just so cool, man. It's a brotherhood that I don't take that for granted at all.
I'm speechless. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, welcome to
And
my
I'm
world.
just
When I say
listening
I'm
to the
like,
story.
yeah.
Man.
So, did making the major leagues validate the sacrifices, or just simply remind you why they were worth making?
I mean, yeah, it definitely validated for the fact that, I mean, that's the end goal, right? That's what you're trying to achieve. But even if I didn't, I still think it developed me into the person I am today. I mean, the challenges that I went through, the adversity I had to face, the things I had to overcome. Um, yeah, of course, it all culminated with making it to the big leagues and making my debut, and that was all great. But I think more importantly, it just developed me who I am today, and I wouldn't change that for anything. And I think that's, to me, the reason I wrote the book, is I wanted people to I tell people all the time now when I speak or go places, whatever, that we all have a social media or a Google story. But when you really get down to the nitty gritty, you need to tell the real story. You need to open up the closet and tell people, this is really who I am, because, like it or not, it's your story. And that's how it's going to impact people. You being fake or being, guarded about this or that is not going to do anybody any favors. And so for me, I wanted to write the book to kind of tell the full story of all the challenges and things that I had to overcome and face to achieve that, so that hopefully it can impact people and say, man, if I'm coming up against this challenge or this thing in life that's just tough, man, I don't know if I can do this. I want people to realize, man, if you grind it out and you trust in yourself to achieve things that really you weren't sure if you could, you'd be shocked at what you're capable of doing. And so for me, it's just that, man, being able to look back and say, you know what, we grinded, we put in the effort, we did all the stuff, and look what we were able to achieve.
So, do you think your story would be as meaningful to you if it was easy and the Navy just let you out?
Um, yeah, I mean, so at the end of the day, it's a hindsight, right? Who knows? Who knows if they would have let me out a few years early and I got to play and had a longer career. But man, I got to see 30 countries before I was 26. I got to lead some of the best, men that I've got to know to this day. Still stay in contact with some of the guys that I served with. The challenges and leadership skills that I developed along the way, you can't pay for. Um, it's hard to answer because, man, of course, would I've loved to have played a 8-10 year career, of course. Uh, but would I be the same person I am today, and being able to go through the things that I did to develop me to how I am? I don't know. And so for that, I don't want to change it. I'm very proud of what we did and how we did it, and I would do it over exactly like we did tomorrow.
Is there a lesson from your time between baseball and the Navy that you wish young athletes could learn earlier?
You can't outwork. You cannot overwork in terms of what you're trying to do and trying to achieve. I always try to tell my son and the teams that he's on that there's always going to be somebody that's more talented than you. Always. There's not always going to be someone who's going to outwork you, because that's up to you. And so for me, it's about, if your goal is to do X, Y, and Z, one, don't ever let anybody else set your own bar. You set your bar. And then make sure you challenge that a few times, meaning, hey, did I set my bar high enough? Am I really stretching myself to be a little bit uncomfortable? Because if your bar is comfortable, you're probably not setting it high enough. And so if it feels a little bit of, then you're probably got a pretty good height on that bar. And so for me, it's just a matter of just saying, hey, look, at the end of the day, you're going to fail when you don't try. And if you don't put your mindset to achieving that goal, that level of success you're trying to achieve, you got to go at it 100%. And so I think that's just the what I see most nowadays is, things get hard, people just go to something else, as opposed to saying, you know what, no, I'm going to stick this out. I'm going to see how hard I can work at this to achieve whatever it is I'm trying to achieve. Or, life's not giving me, the best, cards here. What do I need to do? I'm just going to quit and turn over. Or, hey, you know what? I'm going to suck it up and say, you know what? I'm going to rally the team, whatever that looks like. If that's your family, your friends, or whoever, and figure out, hey, how do I go about this to make sure I come out of this on the other end a better person? And that's really the story I try to tell people is, man, at the end of the day, we go through this stuff to build on ourselves. I think I talk about this sometimes as men. We don't like to be vulnerable. But it's funny how, when you get hurt as a guy, you're like, yeah, I'm tough. Look at this scar, I did this. And you're like, well, how'd you get that? And they're like, oh, well, you don't want to tell your vulnerabilities of things that you may have done that you regret, or things that you've done that, man, I wish I would have done this differently. But at the end of the day, and how did that impact you? How did that develop you into the person that you are? And using that and telling those stories, man, only makes people around you better. And that's kind of what I try to get across to people, man, is just try to achieve whatever it is you're trying to achieve, and don't be afraid to be vulnerable along the way.
Man, I like that. I really do. So, with that said, today you're speaking, mentoring, and sharing your story through your book, My Private War. You talked previously about, you kind of have to let people in, let them see the skeletons in the closet, right? What inspired you to tell this story in this way?
Well, in 2014 or 15 in spring training, someone reached out to possibly do a film, and they wanted to get some storyline and kind of get a conversation going. And I talked to my wife about it. And I said, I just feel like if they're going to Hollywoodize this story, that's all good and dandy, but like, I want to tell the real story. I just feel like if I'm not vulnerable and tell people what I've had to go through, it's not going to have an impact. It'll be a cool, like, oh, cool, that was a cool story. But no, I want people to be like, man, like, I'm going through something, and if he can do that, then I can achieve this too. And so that's why we wrote it, man. We wanted to make sure that, man, at the end of the day, when you read this book, I want you to laugh, I want you to cry, I want you to get excited, I want you to get mad, I want you to every feel, I want you to experience. But most importantly, when you put the book down, I want you to say, you know what? I've been setting the bar too low on this, or been letting people kind of get in my ear and say I can't do that, or I've been putting this thing off for years, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna set out and I'm gonna achieve this thing, and hopefully that's what it does when you read it. So when you get done reading it, let me know.
Absolutely. You wrote it in such a raw way that even you said you want people to feel all of these emotions. What were you feeling during that writing process?
And it was fun. It really was. I mean, a lot of people ask me the question of, man, what did it hurt to have to go through some of that stuff again? And no, the real part is just making sure that I learned from the things that I had gone through, and just making sure that I could take that and hopefully inspire others, and teach whatever lesson that taught me to the next person. And so for me, that was the fun part about it, is reliving some of the fun things, the hard stuff, and then trying to figure out, all right, how do I want people to take this and learn from it, and use it for their betterment. And so that was what was interesting, but challenging all in the same. And thankfully, I had someone who was much better at writing than me.
So there is something that really stands out that you talk about a lot. You often talk about overcoming battles that people don't always see. What do you think is the biggest battle most people are quietly fighting?
I think it's identity. I think people don't know who they are, or are ashamed of who they or are trying to live up to who they aren't. Especially with social media these days, people try to live up to the Joneses, or try to be somebody that they're not. And I think that's the thing for me is, is, man, if you're trying to achieve something, great, but don't try to be somebody that you're not. Be yourself and be fully authentic you. And when you do that, and you are achieving and striving to achieve the things you want to, man, that's the sweet spot in life. And I think too many people get caught off track of like, well, people are doing this, so I need to do that. And so people are doing this and saying this, so I need to act this way. Or, hey, I need to go, man, what are your core beliefs, man? Like what is it that you truly believe, and who are you at the core? And I think for me, a lot of times we talk about this because, as servicemen and women leave the service, it's very difficult, very mentally tough, because when they take the uniform off, they're not sure who they are underneath. Same thing in sports. You take that uniform off, you've had your name on the back and the team on the front for all these years, but when you take that off, you're not sure who you are underneath that. And that was the struggle for me too, man. I've gone through some stuff like that in my life, but man, at the end of the day, once you look in that mirror and say, you know what, God designed me to be this way on purpose. He didn't make it. But at the end of the day, he designed me just like this for a purpose. I'm going to live that out to my best abilities.
So you just brought up something that kind of gave me a question. Which uniform was harder to take off, the military or the baseball one?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm going to say, I mean, honestly, for me, neither one were super, super. Now, do I miss both of them? Yeah, absolutely. Do I miss playing? 100%. But for me, it was a little bit different in that, man, when I was leaving the military, I was going to achieve something that I was striving for. So it wasn't that difficult from a, hey, I'm not sure what's going to happen. I knew where I was heading. I wanted to go there. When I got to leaving baseball, it was, I also knew, like, man, I had surgery. Like I'm probably at the end of my career here, even though it was short, but like I know that's coming. Everybody at some point is going to be done playing. And for me, it was a little bit shorter than I wanted, but I knew that was happening. So neither one of them was super detrimental from a standpoint of like, oh my gosh, this got pulled out from under me. But it's still, my identity was wrapped up in both, man. Initially, man, I was an officer. I led people. That's what I did. And now I'm an old guy with high schoolers and guys who just graduated college, trying to figure out how to play baseball again. And so, like, I was having to re-understand and relearn, like, how do you go about that? And then when I left baseball, I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. Where am I going to go? What am I going to do? How am I going to make money? How am I going to support my family? Who am I now? I was, going to the stadium, you sign autographs. Now you walk around and it's like, no one knows who you are. It's like, so you're trying to figure out, but each of them have their challenges transitioning, and fortunately, came out of that unscathed on both.
How has your definition of leadership changed since your playing days?
I wouldn't say it's changed. I think for me, I learned early on, I think at the academy, me personally, I don't think leadership is something that you can just teach somebody. I think you can teach what leadership is. I don't think everyone has the capability of being a leader. And that might be controversial for some people. But I truly feel like it's a way of life. It is a mentality that you have to have. You have to care about other people. You have to want people around you to be better. You have to want to help other people. And I think too many times, people make the assumption that, okay, well, if I'm the leader, I have to do this, I have to achieve this, I have to be the one that kind of gets the recognition because I'm the leader. I got to be out in front. And that's not necessarily wrong, but if you're excelling while everybody else is staying where they're at, you're not a good leader. And so for me, I learned early on that, man, all I've ever known is teams. And if you're a good leader, you're bringing your team with you. And when you push your team, they're going to elevate you, and vice versa. And I think the best leaders are the ones who say, hey, here's our goal, here's our mission, here's where we're trying to go to. How do we all achieve this as a unit? You doing your part, me doing mine, and how can I help you make sure that you're doing exactly what you need to do to achieve the overall mission as a team? And I think those are my favorite type of leaders, and I'm hoping that I just can do that in any position that I'm ever put in, and hopefully people say that about me when I'm not around.
I like that. So I've got one more question before we go into rapid fire, and then we'll go into a closing question after that. But Chris gets to ask the fun rapid fire. But before that, looking back now, what are you most grateful for?
Oh man, just the opportunities, the friendships, the experiences. I'm fortunate to say nobody has ever done what I did. Nobody walking this earth has ever done what I did, and I'm very honored to say that. And it's an experience that I wish people could experience. Having served the Navy, seeing 30 countries, lead amazing men, and then playing at the highest level in baseball. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. And so for me, it was just the overall aspect of the experiences that I had. That's I'll never take that for granted.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna let Chris ask the fun questions before we close out with the last question.
So
All right.
this is the first time I've actually reached out to a buddy to help me with questions for fun questions because my good friend just retired from the military. He wanted to know what's harder, spring training or military boot camp.
Ooh.
Because you are the only person that we can ask about both.
It is different. I will say, man, that's a good question. I'm going to have to say boot camp is harder because, I mean, I'm not built for running, as you can maybe not see in this video, but the build that I am, running is not my forte. You do a lot of that at boot camp, and I didn't like it. And you do a lot of calisthenics, a lot of push-ups, a lot of sit-ups, a lot of all that stuff while people yell at you. So if you're not a big get yelled at type person, you're going to hate it. Spring training, you also have some people yelling at you because they want you to be better. But I mean, again, you're there playing a game. You know what I mean? You're playing a game. You're having fun. It's hard. Don't get me wrong. Standing around all day is brutal. But you know what you're doing, man. You're having a blast. But yeah, the military part is definitely harder. I think more for the fact that you got a little bit more mental toughness that you got to build up during that.
And his other one was favorite city you visit while in the military.
Favorite city I visited while in the military. I loved Greece. We went to Santorini. That was one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in my life. Food was amazing. The scenery was amazing. But man, I could make a long list of places I enjoyed while we were traveling.
So now it comes the hard, tough questions. If you had one teammate that you could get one strikeout against for bragging rights, what Cardinal teammate would it be?
Matt Holliday.
Okay. What do you think your odds are?
Very low.
Very low.
Yeah, very low. I mean, he was just impressive to watch. I mean, awesome dude. That dude can hit anything, and it goes a long way when he does hit it. But I mean, he's a Cardinal Hall of Famer. I'd be very shocked if he's not a major league MLB Hall of Famer as well. I mean, just to be able to say that I've struck out Matt Holliday would be something that I would love to just hang. I would hang that ball on my wall for sure.
Favorite major league ballpark?
Ooh, that I played in?
Yep.
Or just in general?
Both.
I'm biased. I really, really enjoyed Busch. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, even if I wasn't, with the Cardinals, that was one of my favorites. I just thought it was a really cool park. This is gonna be funny. I really enjoyed playing at Wrigley because they hated us. But my first win there, so can
Okay.
rub that in.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's nice. But yeah, that was a cool, also from the history standpoint there too.
Okay. Favorite baseball memory that a fan didn't see?
Favorite baseball memory that a fan did not see. There's a bunch. There's some I can talk about. There's some I can't.
Yeah.
I think some of the funnest memories that I'll have are conversations and ridiculousness that we had on the buses. To and from the hotel or to and from wherever we're traveling. For instance, I'll never forget my first year having to walk back in where were we? I think we were in Pittsburgh. We had to get off the bus about 3 or 4 blocks from the hotel, and all I had on was a blue Speedo and my boots. Yeah, so sorry to put that image in your head, but I had to walk back 3 blocks in just a Speedo, full night out with it. I mean, I'm talking people everywhere, and we're just like, "Hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Come to the game tonight. We'll see you there." So it was like 10, 12 of us in Speedos and having to walk back to the hotel. That was fun.
Is there a story there that we can get some context on, or no?
Yeah. So every year they make the rookies dress up or do something, right? And so we were leaving the game, and I get to my locker and realize I'm pretty sure I had clothes in here, and I did not bring a Speedo. So I don't know how that got in here, and I turn around and some of the veteran guys are laughing like, "We'll see you on the bus." They'd taken all of our clothes and put Speedos in our lockers, and that's how you're getting back to the hotel, buddy.
That's
but
funny.
yeah, that was just part of being a rookie, and we loved it. We had a great time with it.
Part of me is curious, and I've got to ask, how far of a walk was it?
He said 3 blocks.
Oh yeah,
But I feel like that was probably the longest 3 blocks ever, though.
Yeah, it was. But I mean, you have fun with it, man. We took pictures with everybody we saw because people were like, "Oh my gosh, what is it? What are these massive human beings with no clothes on doing walking through Pittsburgh?"
That's amazing. Did you have any superstitions?
Oh yeah, there was a lot. I always had different things that I was also the guy I didn't like. When I was a starter, I didn't like talking to you before the game. I was focused on the game, doing what we needed to do for the game. When I was a hitter, it didn't really matter. I was just going to go up there and hack. But there was a couple small things like you never step on the line, ever step on the line. There's a couple other small things here and there that we did, but I didn't have one particular one that I had to do every day. But it was just some of the small unwritten baseball things that I think that just everybody that plays baseball, kind of stuck to.
So you bring up the hitting. I thought about this one, and I was trying to think of who you would pick. But if you had to hit against one of your Cardinals teammates, which one would you want to get that hit against?
I mean, I'd have to say Waino, that because I mean he's Cardinal Hall of Famer for sure. Man, I don't know that I'd be able to hit it, but I'd like to see it. I'd swing hard for sure in case I did hit it. But yeah, I'd like to face that. I'd like to see that.
Man, talk about being in that batter's box. You got Wainwright, and then you got Yachty behind you.
Yeah.
All right, so because normally this question comes before my fun questions, and when we wrote this question, I chickened out going behind this question, so I'm going to turn it over to Ethan now with this hard-hitting question.
So everybody gets one final question. You've lived a life where your biggest dream was delayed, not because you weren't talented enough, but because you answered a different calling first. If a young athlete's listening today, someone who's been told to be patient, who is watching everyone else move ahead while their own dream feels like it's on hold, what would you want them to know about trusting the process, embracing the journey, and believing that sometimes God's timing is greater than our own?
Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, man. That's what I've lived on my whole life. He's got a plan for us. And man, I just think that too many times we think we know what we're supposed to do, or we've got a plan written out, but his plans are always better than ours. And so just trust the process. Don't ever let anybody tell you can't, but know that he's got us designed just for you. And to never forget that whatever you're supposed to do, man, just keep your eyes on him and he'll direct your paths. And for me, that's kind of how I've always gone about it is, man, I'm going to give it 100%. But if he opens a door or closes one that I'm not supposed to go through, hey, I'm going to respect that and say, all right, I hear you loud and clear. I'm going to go this way. And so for me, man, I had a lot of doors get closed and fortunately a couple get opened that I didn't expect. And so, giving him 100% every time, no matter what it was. And, hey, it worked out.
Awesome. Man, thank you so much for joining us. Before we let you go, your book, My Private War, can be found online and in most bookstores. My last thing is, where can other people find you and continue to, hear your stories and follow you?
Yeah, I'm on social media, on Instagram and Facebook, and you can go to MitchHarris.com. That has a lot of information as well. So be happy to communicate with anybody, but man, and hit me up if you've got any questions or want a signed copy of the book. Be more than happy to send one out.
Man, thank you so much for your sharing your story with us. The whole point of this podcast was to get the stories that people don't always get to see, but you have a once in a lifetime story when it comes to baseball and everything else, and I really appreciate you sharing that with us.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. Good talking with you.
Thank you, and guys, until next week, this is Inside the Foul. Later.